Not only can I imagine, I have done.
Nice.
When I sang at St. John the Divine, I went to a St. Patrick's Day party hosted by one of the countertenors, and after several hours of uh, imbibing, they pulled out the William Byrd scores. Not easy.
Sounds like a good time though.
Oh yes.
Yeah, choir tour was where ours happened.
I mean, I don't typically get like smashed, but I have had situations where we've like been in a pub with all my friends and it ends up with everyone blowing across bottles. Driving everyone else in the pub insane.
For us, it was our whole choir
It must do that
in
with
in a
every
hot
bottle.
tub in South Africa, many of whom had been drinking, and we did a sight singing freely atonal music, and if you missed a note, you took a drink.
Oh God.
Nice.
And then the next day, we went into quarantine.
Oh my god.
Wow, Alexa, your atonal singing unloosed coronavirus on the world.
It's true.
Didn't you say
Actually,
that
my
you?
choir's very good at atonal sight singing, so
Didn't you say you sang Canto Sagrados as well right before quarantine?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was the night after our last concert where we sung Canto Sagrados.
Nice.
Interesting to do drunk too.
True.
Okay, well, I think we're up live now. So we can pivot a little bit towards Isaac, who is here with
We
us
got-
for one more time.
Bunch of that on the live stream though, so
Yeah, that's fantastic.
we finally got the fun part
Great.
of the best on a live stream.
Like, yeah, I think the general vibe of this, we don't have much of a plan unless Isaac came up with something that they want to run with.
I mean, I have some stuff that I can share, but I'm also curious about because I know people's projects involve, some people's projects involve electronics, and last week we talked sort of in vagaries about some of those, but I wondered if there was any any progress on those, or anything that other people wanted to share and get feedback on, either about the electronics stuff or composition related stuff, if anyone wants to share.
I mean, I guess Tabes our group. Is there anyone else from our group here? I don't know, but
No.
we've been having a fun time of I went and transcribed a bunch of train sounds. If I can share my screen, I will pull that up.
Last time.
Yeah, but there is more. And now I've also taken some of the sounds and like done weird things to them in granular synthesis.
Oh, cool.
So,
Yeah, I want to hear that. I want to know more about that.
Cool.
Can I ask what granular synthesis is again? I don't actually know.
Right, so basically it breaks up if you have like a sound clip, it breaks it up into tiny little pieces and it reassembles them in some way. Then you can like play with how big said grains are and how you're reassembling them, and
Oh, okay, I think.
yeah.
Like
So you can do
smashing
cool
a-
things like
Sorry.
you can do things like extend a sound and definitely render it unrecognizable. You can do lots of cool things with the sound. What are you using for the granular synth stuff?
So Portal by Output. It's a plugin.
Okay.
And I'm running that in Pro Tools.
Okay.
If I can share the screen. and put the original sound on, then maybe we can.
Zoom and Pro Tools together. That's like
So this is
Match
what
made in
the
heaven.
this is what the original sound sounded like. It's just that.
So that's a train sound? That's like a...
Yeah, it's just like an alert tone in a subway.
Okay.
So
So that's like a familiar sound to
some people in our group, yeah, who are Canadian specifically.
Ah.
Anyway, so I did this. So you get the idea. Here's like a one that like detunes it a bit and also like weirdly spatializes it. So all of those are like pretty similar in pitch and like contour, but I could go freakier, although I'm wanting to keep that one fairly recognizable.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, let me... There. Original sound is off.
Yeah, the stereo didn't come through, but I can kind of imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine
oh, right. Okay. Well, there is stereo. Oh well.
So
sure
what's the plan in terms of how these sounds are going to be used?
So one thing that we're doing is we're taking like this and like some other train sounds and kind of going between recorded sounds and like orchestrated recorded sounds, and then like these, blurring it a bit, and then taking the recorded sounds and then blurring those, and it just like blurs the boundaries between like what's what, basically, is the idea.
So is the idea is to start with a sound that's more or less recognizable and sort of slowly move away from that, kind of?
Yeah, I guess so.
And
then to have bits of it coming back in later somehow.
I agree with some of the comments that it's like it's got some nice vibes to it. And so this would be like somewhere near the beginning of that process when it's still like recognizable.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
What other ideas or other plans do you have for this? And are there going to be other sounds involved as well?
Yeah, there will be other sounds. I just haven't gone through and processed those yet. And I think those will also be, some of them will be much less recognizable.
Are they also like train sounds or other kinds of sounds, or?
I could show you like one of the things I've worked on some.
Sure. Yeah.
That might be.
That would be useful.
Yes.
Do you want to show the transcription?
We could pull that up in a moment. Well, Here's the
I can pull-
transcription very briefly.
It's
Just-
ridiculous.
My scribbles on it. But yeah, so Lara's indicated all of the actual hertz and then notated everything rounded to the nearest quarter tone.
It took way too
Um,
long to do, but yes. Oh, show him the
Wow.
speech part.
The speech part?
Yeah.
I don't think I print. This only has the first two. I printed this out a while ago.
Okay. Well,
Um,
there's. Oh, let's see. This. Here, if I share my screen again, can see this beautiful thing. That.
Ah.
Yeah. That took a while. But
Wow.
anyway, then you've got like various squeaks and other train sounds. That I've...
Are
yeah,
these? How did you transcribe those? Was that kind of like a
Audio
spectral
sculpt.
analysis kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I made a sonogram with audio sculpt and then like zeroed in on the individual like frequencies and tried to kind of go with what was like more present.
Here's one of our
Yeah.
train sounds. So that was it.
So is that one of the chords, or is
Uh,
that a different one?
Well,
That's the first one.
yeah, that's the first one.
Okay.
Let me
Okay.
open up. Let me show now what I've sort of done with that. Sorry. So here's a little bit of what I've extracted from that. So and I've got some more stuff that I haven't kind of copied in from my paper stuff, but it's kind of heading in that kind of direction.
Yeah.
Using
Yeah,
the,
this is interesting. Yeah, so
that
you're kind of taking
banging
the
metallic thing as a motif.
You're taking that as the field recording as a kind of impetus for the material here.
Yes.
So is this going to be heard along with the field recording or separately?
I think the idea is to sort of probably fade them in and out of one another to varying degrees. Like the way I've sort of formally planned to continue what we just heard was to kind of do that at a couple of different pitch areas, concluding on C roughly, which I can then sort of use to kind of transition back into or transition into one of the other train sounds, and kind of that was sort of one of the ideas, was just kind of shifting between the train audio sort of spectral transcription of that, and then back with, and then in the middle of the spectral stuff, kind of veer off away from the original material as well, to kind of have a there and back again.
Yeah, can I see the notation again?
Yeah, it's extremely sloppy here, but
So this this stuff in the violin and bassoon and flute and baritone, those pitches are from that train sound that we just listened to?
Correct.
Okay. And how what's the dynamic here?
I'm going to need to look at Laura's spectrograms and kind of get a feel for that and go back and put some dynamics in there.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is, and is it baritone? Is that a voice part?
Yeah, that's written for me. I can sing very high.
So what does that pitch sound like in your range? I mean, that's pretty high up. Would you sing that in falsetto?
Let's see. So what is that? That's like a B quarter flat.
Yeah.
So that's like, I can kind of, I can do kind of a range of things.
Uh-huh.
That's something I haven't really decided on just yet.
Yeah. So what in just listening back to back, and again, it's through Zoom, so I don't know what I'm actually hearing versus, what I'm hearing versus what the sound actually is like.
Yeah.
But when I listen to the train sound, I hear the clanging of the signal, and then I hear, well, I don't know, because I was imagining something different when and talking about train chord. I thought it was going to be like the actual horn of the train, and this is more like an ambient. This is just, I don't even know if all those sounds are coming from trains. It's kind of like the ambient soundscape of the train yard. Kind of is that that more or less what's going on there?
I feel like that recording didn't come across super well, but yeah, roughly. I mean,
we also have subway sounds.
Yeah, I've definitely been kind of thinking train horns, if you will, even if that's not what the sounds actually come from.
So what I'm thinking with this is like, especially because you're thinking kind of spectrally, as opposed to just capturing the capturing the pitches, like thinking beyond that into like capturing the timbre or feeling of or character of those sounds. And to me, like, it's definitely a cool sound, but to me it's like this is like a little more, or a lot more in some cases, more kind of like treble-y and kind of thin relative to the recording that I heard. And also just thinking about in terms of the ranges for those instruments, and it's also the sounds are kind of, overall it's not like a subtle sound, but like each kind of element of the sound is not super loud, and so in thinking of like where these are in the ranges of the instrument, of each instrument, especially, I think, I don't know. I guess all those instruments can play piano or play quietly in those ranges, but but the tendency for like flute and violin, especially when they get higher, is it's going to project more.
Yeah, and this is the sort of thing where I might just tell Shannon, like, figure out if use your judgment to decide if this should be on flute or piccolo, and just play it at the same pitch either way.
Yeah, so I wonder if there's ways to sort of like either subdue the sound, or because there's always like mid or bassy elements of the sound that I don't hear here that you could explore. Maybe not even this part, but maybe in a different part.
Now that I'm looking at the hertz now, and it looks, Laura, are all these notated in the indicated octave, or is that
I think they, okay. I've tried to stick to it, and then there's like 8 VAs, 15 VAs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the pitches are super high. So
Yeah.
They
I've
are
sort
very
of-
high, yeah.
So I don't know
They
where
are
that
very high.
AC stuff is necessarily, but like, yeah, I could,
I mean, it's more
certainly-
like general ambient rumbly
Yeah.
things, which
Which
wasn't
maybe
really.
are harder to find a specific pitch.
I mean,
Right,
it's more
maybe.
just like a band rather than one.
Oh yeah, you wrote here for like for another one of them. You wrote like a band somewhere around 200 hertz. It's nearly unintelligible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because sounds in the natural world have this kind of, I mean, I guess those are man-made sounds, but even those kinds of sounds, they have a sort of you know, natural kind of tapering off as they get higher, you know, as they go up the overtone series.
Yeah.
And musical instruments are almost, I mean, this is not universally true, but if you look at the orchestra, it's like almost the opposite curve where as the instruments get higher, they project more and more.
Right. Well, it also depends on the instrument, but yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the instrument. Yeah, some instruments like the bassoon, for example, has kind of the opposite curve.
Also piano.
Well, it depends for piano because
Kinda.
piano can project. To me, piano is like this kind of curve where like in the bass end and in the treble it projects a lot, and then the mid range is more mellow.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
when thinking about like transcribing these pitches, you know, beyond transcribing the pitches, you have to think about the relative dynamics of those sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the, you know, in the spectrum.
Right. Which, like, if something's super weak, I'll kind of put that it's weak, or
Right.
that's really hard to like capture individual note by note.
It is. Yeah, and there are like, you know, like Earcom has a whole like piece of software devoted to that, and you know, like
Isn't that Orchid?
yeah, or Orchid,
Yeah.
I forget, Orchidea or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of those.
And like
Which I
composers
don't
like
have.
yeah, like Jonathan Harvey has used that to kind of capture that in pieces. But I don't think you need to do that in software. I think you can do that. I think that you can do that by ear, or at least some of it by ear.
Yeah.
And I have the same feeling about the piano sound. Like that's definitely like the pitch of the clanging signal. But I'm also thinking like, is there a way to you know, capture more of the timbre of that signal, or kind of like alienate?
I mean, there's always the possibility of, you know, since none of this is being played live, there's always, you know, we can just cheat and, you know.
Yeah, that's true too.
I mean, I have Audio Sculpt.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna like cross synthesize stuff and see what happens.
Yeah. But I mean, so even thinking of things like muting the piano note, or like doubling it with a string pizzicato or something that that's not so like recognizably you know, this one, you know, a piano sound. So you can kind of yeah, and I like the idea of like, you know, processing it in the electronic domain too. I think doing this, you can do this work from both sides, right? You can bring the electronic sounds closer to the acoustic sounds, and you can bring the acoustic sounds closer to the electronic sounds.
Yeah, that was definitely something we were thinking of doing.
Yeah. Laura, the piano you have, how possible is it to get your hand inside there and mute stuff?
It's pretty hard because it's an upright.
Oh, it's an upright. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could also mute the strings with like a piece of felt.
Yeah.
Or other stuff.
I mean, there might be a way if I open the lid, because you can like kind of open the lid, but I don't know how much. Like, it's not like on a grand where you can just find the contact point and put your hand there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thinking maybe some selective muting and having this note in octaves might get closer to what you're describing, Isaac.
Muting in octaves kind of hard, just because then you're like trying to do that.
Well, that's so like having the strip of felt or something would be.
Yeah, like having it prepared.
Yeah, I don't know how well that's gonna.
Okay.
work, but I can see what I can do.
Yeah, but yeah, the option of of processing it too is obviously also a good one.
Or just putting some of
Unless
like we've also
Okay.
been like having some of our group have been recording kind of random pieces to sound like buskers.
to sound
So I
like
feel
what?
like you sound like recording pieces just to sound like buskers playing in the subway station.
Oh, buskers. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I imagine that kind of reverb would probably sound a bit closer as opposed to this right up close MIDI piano noise.
Yeah. Oh, also we have spoken sounds of like us reading a text,
Oh, cool.
and then we're gonna do fun things with processing that as well.
Yes, and then throw it all into a pot and stir it up and figure out how
Blur
it
the
fits
lines.
together.
Cool. Yeah.
Um,
How easy is it to grab those to play those quarter tones and things like that on bassoon? And well, I guess if you're singing it, you can kind of
yeah, like I don't have much
whatever.
experience singing quarter tones and whatnot, but I can just match pitch.
Mm-hmm.
The bassoon, like I think I've looked it up, and there's pretty exhaustive fingerings for all
Yeah,
these
and
quarter tones,
embouchure.
like up and down the range. So
Embouchure is also a thing. I have bassoonist friends, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can just kind of find some fingering and do weird things with the embouchure, and it'll work." Also, and that's another instrument that has like a million multiphonics.
Yeah.
and she has a contrabass or contrabassoon, so
Oh, she
we can
has
just
contra. Yeah,
we can
right.
just get some sort of
Clara. Yeah.
indeterminate pitch, low contrabassoon rumbling.
Mm-hmm.
Call that the instrumental
Yeah.
version of indiscriminate rumbling.
Well, I can do that on the piano if I can get my hand in there and just kind of put the pedal down and do that to the low strings. Makes a
Yeah.
cool rumbly sound.
Yeah, I also wonder if there's other things you can do. Yeah, someone mentioned whistle tones and whisper tones for the flute. I think that's an interesting idea too. Other things to get to kind of get closer to the timbre of that sound, which does have a lot of that indefinite noise in there. So ways you can get
multiphonics.
Yeah, you can do multiphonics.
Sulpant bowing on the violin.
Sulpant or soltasto or scratch tone.
Yeah, or even just a thing where you kind of put your hands on the fingerboard and bow very lightly, and you get kind of an indiscriminate high sound.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like the what is it in Firebird? I think the where you just kind of run the finger up and down the string.
No, but that's kind of that's like pretty clearly pitched. This is like you can get a pretty white noisy noise by being sort of very light bow and fingers like
that kind of
just on the fingerboard as high as you can like go.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called at the moment, but one site that has anyone seen this site called Shaken Not Stuttered?
Shaken Not Stuttered?
Yeah, so it's kind of a compilation of string techniques that used by Andrew Norman in some of his pieces. And so there's examples, and a lot of them are non-standard. So
I see Anna Thorvaldsdottir here as well. Thorvaldsdottir is.
Oh yeah. I think that's newer. Yeah, and Jörg Frey as well. Yeah. I haven't looked at those as much because I think that's newer since
Oh, cool. Yeah.
that's cool. I haven't looked at those yet. I'm going to look at those. But yeah, especially the Andrew Norman stuff has a lot of like specific techniques, and then shows how he chooses to notate them, which may or may not be how you choose to notate them. And a lot of them are these kind of like things that have these indeterminate, sometimes they have the unusual timbres or indeterminate pitch and things like that.
I wonder if Tyler has a wooden mute. Because if you bow on that thing, it makes a very cool sound.
If you bow on the mute itself?
Yeah, like, and it has to be like like a wooden mute. If it's a metal mute, it makes no sound, and if it's like a rubber mute, it also makes no sound. Yeah, bowing the scroll or the finger, like far end of the fingerboard. Yeah.
Another thing I was thinking about, and this is kind of going back to the other train sample, is so Laura, you do this awesome work of transcription of all these different things. Has there been any sort of, or have you thought about compositionally kind of like combining elements of these field recordings and seeing how they, seeing if they interrelate or how they interrelate, or how they could interrelate?
Could do. I mean, I haven't done that much with the compositional stuff just because it would be very easy for me to just like full on take over, and I'm kind of trying to prevent that.
I understand. That's the composer's curse.
Which is why I'm like focusing more on like making sounds. And doing transcription work and other things so that people have material to work with rather than.
Yeah, but I'm also just thinking of that question for the whole group, because you've transcribed these things, and how they could be juxtaposed, used as transitions.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, that's what I think we were thinking of. And also just like going between that and the electronic sound and then like juxtaposing things in interesting ways.
Yeah. So are other people in the group working on different parts of this?
We're basically, we're all still sort of creating things, and we're going to, I think, use the weekend to sort of figure out how they fit together.
Yeah. So is everyone kind of picking a different sound, or picking different sounds that they like, or is there kind of like
it's kind of, we just have a pool of ideas and things we put together.
Everything goes into a Google Drive folder, and everyone has access to everything, basically.
Okay. So in other words, some sounds might never get used, some sounds might get used multiple times, and that's basically just part of the
we're kind of just letting the work guide itself, I think.
That's cool. When I hear that the subway signal, is it a subway signal? Yeah. Or no, the other one, the first one that you played for me.
Yeah, that was like a subway alert tone.
Yeah.
Oh, there's another one which is very distinct. Let me find that for you.
I mean, those were they're like motives, basically. I mean, there's so much you can do with that compositionally.
This is the one that took like an eternity, and I only transcribed about half of it because it's but wait, let me just check that original sound is on, and we are sharing computer sound. Good. So
Arriving at Interchange Station, Spadina. Spadina Station. Please stand clear of doors. The next station is Dubont. Dubont Station. Arriving at Dubont. Dubont Station. Please stand clear of doors.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in there. It's a very rich, soundscape. Beyond just the the signal ding. There's so much like the clattering, kind of clattering of the train on the tracks, and then there's a kind of mid-rangey kind of sound. I'm not sure what is producing that sound. It's like ooh, and then it goes down half that
Yeah.
ooh, and then
well, it's kind of
really
in a
high-pitched
general
ones.
area.
Yeah.
And then I transcribed some of the squeaks, and I transcribed the first bit of speech and roughly what that band is and some other stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think almost like each one of these could be, you could have a whole movement based on every aspect of that sound, or combine them.
Yeah.
I'm curious what some of the even just if you have a vague description of what some of the other people in the group are doing in terms of what sounds they're focusing on.
Shannon posted something
What did Shannon post?
a while ago.
Let me get this open. Here we are. Yeah. She transcribed the alert tone that I started messing with in the granular synthesis thing. So she transcribed that. And there's some, let me see what else we have here. She's also gone and done some busking things.
Oh yeah, I was just looking at the video clip she posted a little back
Yeah.
after I had started the thing of taking screenshot videos of your Sibelius player. She was doing something very cool where it seemed like she was taking the transcription as a skeleton and then kind of laying some functional harmony on top of that.
Oh, interesting.
With
Yeah.
like the gestures from the transcription.
That's cool.
Like taking the role of sort of moving things along, but then having, more harmonious pitch material in there than you get.
Yeah, almost like sounds almost like recitative or something.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Just like capturing the rhythm and then sending it to these very functional chords. Except that's with like the rhythm of speech, but it's similar. Conceptually, seems similar to me. I'm just reading the comments here. Yeah, for some reason, I read somewhere. I wish I knew where I read it, but I think there's a reason that the New York subway used ascending minor sevenths. It's like not an accident. Like there's a particular reason why, but I don't remember why.
Wait, which trains on the New York subway are we talking about?
Good question.
Because I know that there's one train on the one type of train which like runs on the L track, which makes the same engine noise as some of the old trains on the Boston Green Line.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. There's a fun fact, and it's kind of like
yeah. Yeah, I think it's
Guys,
it's something
can
like
you put that in your piece, please?
Okay.
Like Lara singing that. It's on the YouTube.
I mean, I could record myself doing that thing. There was actually an argument. Okay, when I was in
An argument on
undergrad,
the subway?
there was an argument about what the pitches of that like subway line were between like some of the music majors at my school.
Oh my gosh. That seems like an easy argument to resolve.
Well,
could record
the issue is it's like it's a glissando, so it depends on where you start counting it.
I see.
So they were both technically right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So with the granular synth plugin that you're using, what kind of what do you have control over in that plugin?
I mean, there's like a ton of different settings that are kind of places to start. So presets, but then I can mess with things like grain count, density, 2 or more parameters of things like reverb or well, reverb's always something I can mess with. Feedback, count. Is it randomized pitches or are we using some kind of chord? So there's a lot I can mess with. But oh, and I can mess with the envelope as well.
Are there delays in there, or is that a side effect of the granular effects, or is there like a separate delay?
Depends on which
function?
presets I'm using.
Okay.
Because like some of them are delay focused and others are not. Like some of the ones that I showed here distort the pitch less, but there's more delay. And then I can also work with like how wet or dry it is, when the onset is, how quickly the next onset comes, and just stuff like that. So there's a lot I can play with.
Yeah. I wonder if well, I wonder if syncing the delay to I don't know how much control you have over the delay, but you one thing you might try if you haven't already would be syncing the delay to the tempo or some fraction of the tempo of the of that subway sound, so that you get kind of I mean, that's almost like a compositional thing.
I feel like that might almost be easier to just do in a delay.
Yeah.
Because I can do that.
Yeah.
And then it wouldn't be like 1 of a million parameters.
Right. But yeah, it occurs to me that this is the sound, like any of these kind of like simple kind of like motive sounds, you know, you can do lots of interesting things with like compositional things with you know, the same sort of compositional things that you would do with any other kind of short motive, you know, like doing imitative things with itself, either at the same pitch or at a different pitch, or augmentation or diminution of those. I don't know how easy it is to do inversion in the context of doing that with the sound. But there are all kinds of like compositional things that you can do with those kinds of sounds beyond just kind of like using them, using them as raw material. There's all these kind of transformations that you can do with those sounds.
Oh yeah.
And that sound seemed particularly rich for that.
There's also like a whole degree of how recognizable do you want it, which is also a whole aspect of, electronic music, music concrète, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I kind of go back and forth on that. I think I like things when the most when they're kind of in the middle. Like there are recognizable, but another thing you can think about doing is even just setting up the process in reverse so that it's kind of a discovery, rather than starting with the recognizable sound and moving to things that are less and less recognizable. But sometimes it's really satisfying to have that revelation of like, oh, that's what that is. Moving towards the recognizable sound rather than away from it, and even just like playing along that boundary, I think is really, just really a fun place to be. Yeah. I don't know. Was there anything else? Was there anything else that that anyone from your group wanted to talk about, or was struggling with, or anything like that?
I don't know. I feel like we've kind of taken up a lot of time.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm curious. Some of the other groups here, what are you working on? I don't know who's in what group, so I could do like the mean teacher thing of just calling on somebody at random and then being like, what? Well, let's see.
There are like at least 3 other groups represented, if not all.
3 other groups represented.
I think.
Who was here last week?
All of them.
Julian was here last week.
We haven't made that much progress, like in terms of producing actual sound stuff yet, but we're still like all writing and stuff.
Okay.
I haven't even started engraving yet, but I did finish the draft. Well, I write on paper, so the draft is done, and I'm pretty fast with Lily Pond, so it should be okay, I think.
And what's the like concept of the project of your group?
Well, what is the concept? The concept was deal with the devil. That was the concept that we all settled on. And so I created the part of the piece which represents the ordinary world, which is full of these like long drone tones and is a little bit ambivalent throughout, but has a heart which is quickly dissipated and then goes into the next movement, which Stacey is writing. That's the idea. I unfortunately don't really have anything good to show because I didn't start engraving yet. I've been very busy. I'm teaching high schoolers tomorrow about something, so I'm like making PowerPoint slides.
Oh my gosh.
So,
but your group was also talking about this kind of acoustic electronic continuum, right? Of like using electronic sounds to represent one kind of world versus another kind of world. Am I remembering that correctly? I'm curious how that's panning out, if you can even just describe what's happening with that.
I'm not sure. Amanda might know. Caitlin might know. I know Caitlin is probably going to do a fair amount of the electronics. at least in the manuscript score, not manuscript, in the draft scores he sent us, there's a square that just says electronics at one part. So I know she's planning on it.
Ah,
But I'm not sure what the situation is yet. I'm sorry.
okay. That's
Stacy,
fine.
do you know? Is Stacy here? Okay, maybe she's not here, but you know.
There's
Sorry,
a picture of her playing
here.
piano.
Oh,
Having struggles.
oh, it's okay. Me too. Always.
Yeah, I think basically it's 5 movements and it's gonna get gradually more electronic as it goes, but I'm doing the second movement, so I'm also not doing anything very electronic.
What does that mean, not very electronic? Does that mean not electronic?
Yeah, I mean, so far I haven't thought of any ways to
Okay.
make my part electronic, and I think I really like the idea of sort of degrading the sound later, but that's not a move. I guess we're all going to work on the 5th movement together. And so we'll have to talk about that and figure out how to do it. But one thing that I'm hoping we can do is gradually detune it as we go. So it just sort of
Interesting.
keeps falling out of tune more and more.
Yeah. And would you do that and that would be done electronically, probably, I'm guessing?
Yeah, the only way I can think of to do it is to make a whole ton of tracks and each one has a different tuning attached to it, and then just duplicate the tracks, and as the piece goes on, go to the increasingly out of tune. I don't know how else to do it.
Well, I guess it depends on what you're doing it in, but you know what's doing the detuning. But if you have like the way I would do it in Ableton is I might use some automation. Because you can do well, yeah, do you know what program or environment that this would be done in?
I don't, like, I only use Logic, and I think Caitlin knows how to do a lot more things.
Yeah. So if it's like a plugin that's doing the detuning or you know something like that, then you can use like automation to have it gradually detune. And that might be interesting because, you know, first of all, you wouldn't need to have so many tracks, but then also you could think about it more, you know, you could sort of compose with it, you know, you could sort of detune things at specific moments. And also you have the, you know, you have the nice, cool effect of the, you know, of the glissando when it detunes, if you want that, as opposed to just, you know, suddenly being in a different tuning. Other things that you can use for that kind of detuned effect would be like ring modulators or frequency shifters, which strictly speaking what they're doing is not really detuning, but it's sort of modulating the frequencies with something else, so that you get a bunch of kind of non-standard tuning frequencies come out the other end. And you can do some cool things of kind of gradually cranking that up. Sounds really good on piano. But yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. What's the instrumentation of your group?
What is it, like Erhu? And then am I pronouncing?
There's a bunch of random instruments. It's like Stacy on piano, Ari on cello, Caitlin on oboe, Amanda on clarinet. She also has these like percussive bowls, and I just said, well, I have a bunch of instruments lying around my house, so I have my erhu, I have my melodica, and whatever percussion people might need. So it's a little ragtag, which I think is good.
Is the what are the tuning sort of capabilities of the Erhu? Is it basically all fretless kind of?
Yeah, it's like a violin.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, it'll probably also be
there.
out of tune because I'm not good at playing it.
It looks like a really tricky instrument. I don't know if it is, but it looks difficult to me.
It's like about as hard as a violin.
Well, I guess it's 12:30 or a little after 12:30. But is there anything else that anyone wanted to talk about today?
I could do an update on what I'm doing, which is not that different. I think some people saw it yesterday, but you might be interested.
Sure. Yeah.
So I recorded a few things that we're using. I don't have a score for you, but this is a cluster chord that is the scale that our piece is going to be in, which is going to be like faded in and out in the score. And I'm recording this in Reaper. I guess it might be easier to do this in Ableton, but I don't have Ableton, so I'm doing it in Reaper.
Yeah. Reaper actually is very capable too, so.
Is it coming through?
It is. It's kind of quiet.
Oh, I know why. I didn't switch the sound device over. That's why. It's just coming through my microphone. Hang on, I'll put it on Soundflower and then I can play things, but I can't talk. Yeah, it's not coming through at all, is it?
Not at the moment. So you're using. Are you sharing your? Oh my gosh, I'm hearing myself on echo. That's really weird.
That's me. Sorry.
When you click share computer sound, are you clicking share computer sound in Zoom as well?
Meow. Oh, it's not echoing anymore. Meow. Yeah, it's not echoing.
So if you go to like share screen in Zoom and then share computer sound, then it might work. Are you on a PC or a Mac?
I'm on a Mac.
So there might be, so whatever you're playing it through, if you can actually change the audio device to Zoom audio device, and then we should be able to hear it, I think. So yeah, if you in Reaper, if you change the output device to Zoom audio device, then we should be able to hear it. I think.
I've got to restart Reaper. It's glitching out on me.
Oh no! Okay.
Sorry about that.
Boop 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 boop.
Meow.
I can probably do better by only having one project open at a time too.
Yeah. Yo. Neil.
Yes.
Ha 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 ha.
Okay, this might work.
Huh? Ray. Oh, never mind. I do not hear it. Now I hear it.
Now we hear it.
Okay.
That's very cool.
And yeah, and then there's one other thing which I can show you, which is I took all of the sounds you can make on oboe that aren't playing it and recorded them, and I've edited them a bit to try to make some percussion sounds out of them, which will be used in our project. I have to switch project files here, so it's probably going to change all my settings on me.
So what was the sound source for that again?
The sound source is just oboe. It's just sustained notes on oboe. So I'm going to fade that in and out so you don't hear the attack. And I'm probably going to pan the different notes separately in stereo. But that might not go through in Zoom. And that's the key our piece is in. So then the second part of it, I'm just dropping out individual notes or moving them around to always have one note in the scale be missing. Yeah. Okay, here's the other thing.
Whoop. Okay. That's very cool.
I love this so much. Are those just a lot of those just like clicking like each
yeah, a lot of those are key noises or different parts of the, you know, like how boomwhackers work, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can play you can use the bell of the instrument as one, and then they're just changed in speed, in playback speed, to change the pitch. And then I edited them to make some drum sounds, which is what was playing in the loop that you heard earlier, but I'll play that on its own. I was not very well prepared to actually demo this, or else this would have been easier. Okay. I can't actually hear this when it plays back, but I can see that the dials are moving. So, oh wait, switch the sound device over. Not that one. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I think you've got a great collection of sounds, as who said, yeah, as Stacy said, nice oboe drum kit. So what are you? Yeah, what's the next step here?
Well, compositionally, I don't know how they're all going to fit in. We've also got, I don't have it here, but we have some ambient sound that we'll be using, and we'll probably be putting that on top. And we have some melodic stuff, which I'm copying out the score of, but it's not ready. That will provide a drum kit for like a folk dance type section. So there's probably going to be
this is how
fast tempo like dance track at the end with a folk type melody, probably in 6/8 that Isabel wrote. And then before that, there's going to be a section with some isolated vocal vowel sounds, probably accompanied by some of those sounds. But that hasn't been written yet.
Yeah, it sounds like you do have like all the elements for like an electronic dance track. You have the drum kit, you have the kind of bed of harmonic sounds, you have like you said, you have some melodic ideas. So I think you're well set up to kind of assemble those pieces. I think they'll actually fit together really well. I think with some of the drum kit sounds, I think you have a great palette of sounds, and I think and maybe you're already thinking about this, but just thinking about overlaying those sounds as opposed to hearing them all in isolation. Especially combining, the ones that kind of occupy different parts of the frequency spectrum. The same way that you would use any other drum kit, right? Not every, when a drummer's playing, they're usually playing multiple instruments are happening at the same time, right?
Yeah, I've been trying to think about ways of keeping parts of the frequency spectrum clear for vocals. Our trio is going to be violin, oboe, and voice. So we can really like interfere with each other spectrum-wise. And I've been trying to create the drum kit in such a way that it's going to leave sound spectrum free for that.
And what's the you said oboe, viola, and voice?
I think she plays violin and viola. So
violin and viola.
We've got some viola stuff. The stuff she's recorded already has been on violin, but I think she is going to be able to play some viola as well. I hope so, because I just wrote some stuff for viola that is too low. You can't play it on
violin. So what do you know what the viola is, or the violin or viola is doing at in this part, in this context?
Hang on a sec.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that puts it in a whole different context for me. How does this...
Are the cats in the shot?
No.
There was one.
No.
Hey.
Meow. I'm just having a lot of fun with Echo.
Echo.
Yeah.
So are
No, it's
these three things that you played together, are they going to integrate somehow, or are they for different parts of the piece?
The part with the drone is probably for different parts of the piece. But
Okay.
Yes, I want to use the electronic drum kit with the folk dance.
I think that would be really cool, and it reminds me of one specific track by Matmos. Do you know Matmos?
No.
You should. Well, everyone should. Matmos is a duo, an electronic music duo who work a lot with recorded sounds, often sounds that they've recorded themselves. Like their last album, which is called Ultimate Care 2, all their is named after a washing machine, because all the sounds on that album are made from that one washing machine. And there's one particular track that...
Washing machines are great. In my Project One, I used a sample of slamming the dryer door as convolution reverb.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It makes a very satisfying boom.
The track I am thinking of is from their album called The Civil War from 2003. It's called The Zealous Order of Candied Knights. And it's kind of weirdly in a similar sound world to these things you've been playing, where there's kind of very crisp but light kind of electronic drum sounds. And there's kind of a bagpipe drone in the background. And then I don't know if there's violin, but then there's like bassoon and woodwinds playing melody figures in the foreground, and it's this weird conglomeration of like folk music and electronic music. That's a good headline. Emerging harsh noise artists reveal this faulty air conditioning unit.
Gotta find a faulty air conditioner and use it as the rhythm section.
There you go.
I mean, we have a group that's doing that with trains.
Right. Yeah, so I think Matmos is... Well, let me link to their recent album too, Ultimate Care 2, because this is one... it's one that I always... Oh, interesting. It used to be... Oh, I wonder if they changed that. Hold on. So here's the Bandcamp link for that album. But then they also have some videos of excerpts. I wonder if there's like a playlist of the whole album. Hold on a second. Here we go. Here's what I was looking for. Oh no, that's just the full album. Yeah, well, there's a bunch of excerpts on YouTube. I was hoping to find a playlist of the whole album on YouTube, because the way on Bandcamp it's just one single track, but then the excerpts are kind of very... There's a bunch of different textures that the album goes through. So there's lots of stuff going on there, and I think that's a good one for anyone to listen to who's like using using field recordings and recording sounds, because it is kind of more in a beat-based context, but even within that, there's like so many different ways that these sounds are employed, and it's just a really fun album. Yeah, thanks for sharing, Daniel. That was like really, I enjoyed hearing that, and I'm excited to hear where these things go. Does anyone have any last questions or final thoughts or things they want to share? I mean, this has been really fun to hear people's projects kind of come to life, and I'm excited to hear how all of them turn out, because it's like, I don't know, it's really exciting. It's like kind of new. It's kind of exciting to see you all like navigate this new kind of way of working, and the possibilities with it are really exciting.
I can briefly share, we just got like a short proof of concept thing going, and we're pretty happy with the results. But I don't want to hold anybody here too long.
Yeah, I'd love to. I have to go in a little bit, but yeah, please share.
Yeah, so basically our group is working on less of a specific piece, but more of a process or a compositional game, collaborative game sort of thing, where we're creating a how to play, which is a pun, on Foldy Foldy Draw Draw. So basically everybody is doing some artistic process. It could be visual, movement, music, what have you. And you only get to know what is happening in the link immediately before you. And then everybody comes back and just sort of splices it all together, and we kind of mix it collaboratively. So we ran the first round of this game. We had 4 rungs happen, which were sort of an acoustic instrument, electronic instrument, spoken word, and drawing. And then kind of just spliced them all together without really any editing, and came up with this, which we were all kind of shocked with how, oh wait, I need to share computer sound, sorry. Hang on. Sorry, my computer's been freaking out all day. There we go.
Forgive me. My mind space feels drop of drops of guilt, diffusion. Forgive me, what were we talking about? I lost my track of thought.
Nice. Yeah. So how was that assembled again? How was that?
Yeah, so the first thing that happened was we decided that Seamus was going to be the first person to contribute something. And so we all sent them ideas for prompts, but we were not told what prompt they picked. They just picked one, which ended up being the constant and ever-flowing passage of time. And so then they interpreted that on their flutes, sent that file to Ahmed, who responded to that with spoken word. Then Ahmed sent it to Clarissa, who didn't see what Seamus had done, but then responded to just what Ahmed had done with an electronic instrument. And then I just got what Clarissa had done on the electronic instrument and responded to it with drawing. And then we just layer, boom. And it worked. And we were like, this is so cool. So now we're working on like a longer one to use for the final project.
Oh, cool. Can we just see it again? I was like, there's a lot going on, a lot to absorb.
There's a lot going on. Yeah, sure.
Forgive me. My mind space feels drop of drops of guilt, diffusion. Forgive me, what were we talking about? I lost my track of thought.
Yeah, it really has a nice arc to it. And it sounds like there's another voice faintly in the background. Do you know what that is?
I think it might be part of the electronic instrument.
Okay.
I don't do a ton of electronic stuff, and I'm not 100% sure what she did. But I think that there was a little like mumbling sort of integrated with the bleeps and bloops.
The bleeps and bloops and the kind of staticky sound that gets louder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't know, since I can't hear, since I think stereo doesn't come through Zoom by default, is there any stereo or panning happening?
Not yet, because this was just a proof of concept, and we wanted to see what happened, and then went, oh, amazing. But we're planning on sort of mixing the final project a little bit more with panning and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because that was my one kind of comment, is like, oh, this could be mixed a little more, so that all the elements kind of, sit together in a space. But yeah, as a proof of concept, it's really exciting. I'm eager to hear where that goes from there. So for how much longer is the final one going to be?
So for this like round of the game, we're going to each contribute something that's between 3 and 10 minutes, and then mix it to however long it ends up being. So there will probably be a lot that ends up on the cutting room floor, but we're not 100% sure yet. But that's kind of the plan.
So was this one like a pre-decided length, or?
We said kind of like roughly a minute, and everybody ended up 1 minute and 17 seconds, which was kind of fun.
That's cool. Yeah, I wonder if, because one thing that's really nice about this is that having that similar length sort of allows for more of these kind of serendipities of these sort of collisions of things, because you're trying to fit these ideas in the same length. I wonder if my concern would be is that if you're not working with a specific length, that it might the end product might not be as strong, because you might not get as many of those serendipities, or you might just have to do more work to make it work together. So I wonder if a specific length, or even like I don't know, you might not want to go in this direction conceptually, but even having something where you're dividing the length of the thing into section, and saying, like from you know, for like the first minute and a half, you're transitioning from A to B, but you don't say what A and B are, you know, that kind of thing. And that way you could still have this kind of exquisite corpse kind of thing of everyone doing something different, and it being this kind of free association, but then you still get the kind of nice arc that you got with this. Though again, you know, maybe conceptually you don't want to go that direction. Maybe, you know, maybe you would rather have the pure like free association thing going on, and that's fine too. But if you wanted it to have, you know, an arc like this, I think that's one thing you could do.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, very exciting. Well, I should probably go very soon, but it's been really, really delightful to hear all your projects, and just really, really cool stuff, really creative stuff, and yeah, and I hope I get to hear the final product for each of those. It's very exciting.
Thanks so much, and thanks so much for sticking around for so long.
It's hard for me to. It's everything. Everyone has interesting stuff. I don't want to go. Unfortunately, I have to go. But thanks for sharing, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Isaac.
Take care, everyone.
Anyone gonna say anything interesting, or should I take off the live stream?
Isn't it just wild how we feel compelled to wave?
Can't believe Alexa's 6 feet tall.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah, that was.
I'm gonna. Take
I
the
really
live
hope
stream
that
down
you're just like completely joshing us, and you're just like actually 5'2".
Also, speaking of high ceilings, this is a high ceiling.
Oh my god!
It's a high ceiling.
It's a very high ceiling.
No.
It's an old building, so the ceilings are high.
That's
I think
weird.
this building was built in like 1886 or something.
My old house was built in like 1760s, but
oh wow, nice.
Yeah, it was wild.
That's pretty wild.
Where was it? In Ohio?
Ohio. The person who built the house used to own all the farmland that then became Ohio.
Wow.
Then became Ohio.
Yeah. They owned Ohio, basically.